Hello, welcome again. Today we will have little understanding on FPGA design tools and their functions, and we'll understand the VHDL design flow. Okay, let's little talk about the FPGA now. So FPGA stands for Field Programmable Gate Array. FPGA is an array of logical cells in a chip which is configurable on how the connection in each logical cells are made and how the connections made from one logical cell to another logical cell. Each logical cell inside the FPGA having lookup tables for defining what the logic function is and some temporary storage and flip-flops. There can be hundreds to millions of these logical cells inside the chip, depends on the FPGA device you choose, and millions of possible combinations of the interconnect too. Now the question is, suppose you have all that logical cells and allows interconnections too, so can you do it manually for your digital system? The simple answer is no. So for that large array of logical cells and their interconnection, we will need a tool who can do this job for us based on the functional description we gave through the VHDL code. And for that, we have the pre-trained root tools which can define the configuration data. So what we need for the FPGA connection? We need configuration file which define the connections between the logical cells, wires you can say, and that configuration data acts as a switch box to allow connection between one logical cell to another logical cells. Most of the FPGA uses static RAM to store this configuration. However, some devices also have the flexibility to use the flash memory. So in short, you can configure your FPGA through a flash memory or simply from a J-Tech cable during your projects. So if you look over to the screenshots, orange color blocks are the logical cells. Lines are programmable interconnections which connect interlogical cells based on the configuration, and blue blocks are the physical input-output pins of the FPGA. Next topic is FPGA versus ASIC. ASIC is called Application Specific Integrated Circuit. Important thing is that once the digital system you are designing is configured on the FPGA, both the chip will do the same job. But the significant difference between these two is the cost. ASICs have much lower cost per device. However, FPGA has higher cost per device. That is why ASICs are used for high volume or high quantity projects. On the other hand side, FPGA has shorter development cycle. FPGAs allows reconfigurability of the device. That means if any design change is required, FPGA are quicker. However, ASICs need to go through a long redesign process and these are expensive. This is because while FPGA is configurable in their interconnections and logical cells, ASICs use hardwired connections using chip masks during the fabrication process. Another important thing is that the design flow from hardware description language to behavioral simulation are same for both the devices, but the design flow after behavioral simulation is different for both FPGA and ASICs. ASICs need to go through more designing process at the back end at lower level like transistor levels and below to make it ready for the fabrication process. So in summary, FPGA has high cost per device, ASICs has low cost per device, FPGA has shorter development cycle, ASICs has long development cycles. FPGA has low cost development, ASICs has high cost development. FPGA interconnect logical cells by configurable switch boxes, while ASICs has interconnect by fabricated marks. FPGA has fast design changes, however ASICs has long design changes. Let's explore the FPGA design tools. So there are three major tools that are being used in the FPGA development process. First is behavioral simulator. So what is it? A behavioral simulator simulates the behavioral description we described in our VHDL code and display them in the simulator in form of waveforms. We have tools like ModelSim and Xilinx Vivado simulator or IceSim simulator for doing this job. We have more tools as well like Active SDL, so you can choose which one you wanted to use because these all are essentially the same. Next step is synthesis. So once we have a design that functionally simulates correctly, the next step is to translate that behavioral description into the logic or the schematic design. That has been done by the synthesis tool, and this tool is very specific to the FPGA vendors. FPGAs are developed by multiple vendors, in which Xilinx and Altera are widely used vendors. So for Xilinx devices, we would use Xilinx ISC or Xilinx Vivado. And in case of Altera FPGA devices, we would use Quartus. There are some other similar tools like Synopsys or Cadence tools, but they are not widely common. After synthesis, we would be needing place and route tools. These tools are again FPGA vendor specific, so we will use Xilinx Vivado or ISC for Xilinx FPGA devices, and for Altera devices we will use Quartus. The purpose of this slide is to make you familiar with these terms only, hence I'm not going in very depth at the moment, because eventually later in coding and practices you will be used to of these tools and processes. So no worries if you feel difficulty in understanding at the moment, because you will develop the deeper understanding once you start using them in this learning series. Okay, so let's talk about the behavioral simulation. The idea of the behavioral simulation is that we are simulating the functionality based on the description we have specified in our VHDL code, but not the logical design that is eventually created by the synthesis tool. The results of the simulation can be analyzed using waveforms like here. Look at the waveform and you can check at each red mark timestamp when input select is 0, output is same as input A, and when select input is 1, output is same as input B. You can take a pause here if you wanted to map the results for each possible inputs of A, B and select. These red markers covers all possible input combinations for this multiplexer. We are getting input A as an output of multiplexer when select pin is 0, and getting B as an output when select pin is 1. So if we are getting the same results what we are expecting from our digital system and we satisfy with the results, then we convert our description or behavioral design into the gate level design. And from the last slide, now you know what tool we are required to do this job. Yes, that is synthesizer. So we will synthesize our design to get the gate level simulation and the gate level structure. Here is one very important thing to know, that sometimes when someone is new to the FPGA design process, several things can go wrong, or sometimes you describe a digital system in SDL which can simulate perfectly in the simulation tool but actually cannot be translated correctly into the logical design, or I mean a schematic design. That happens rarely, but yes, that can occur. The reason may be when you did not follow the guidelines of VHDL while describing your digital system, or sometime maybe because of the transaction time problems as well. But you should not be worried of those things, because with time you will know how to deal with them. So next topic is gate level simulation. Gate level simulation is the actual simulation of the results which is generated by the synthesis tool. However, the goal of the simulation is to be identical with the behavioral simulation. So by gaining the experience, you will become confident that gate level simulation and behavioral simulation are same almost every time. But sometimes it is useful to do both a behavioral simulation and gate level simulation. Now let's quickly go through the last topic of this session, that is VHDL design flow. So we write our VHDL code to describe the behavior of our digital system in code editor. Next, we compile our VHDL code to give a check if our code has any syntax error. If we have the syntax error, we cannot proceed further, and we need to jump back to the VHDL code again to fix those errors and then recompile. So once compile is done, the next step is simulation, where you will analyze and verify the behavior of your digital system with the help of waveforms. And if you are happy with the results, you can jump to the next step, and if not, jump back to the VHDL code and fix those problems. Remember, because these are not syntax error, you are required to review your logic and your VHDL code to fix those problems. Okay, now if you are happy with the simulation results, next step is synthesis. This step is again same. When you run synthesis, you may get error, or tool may not be able to convert your behavioral design to schematic design. In that case too, you need to jump back to your VHDL code first and then correct those issues and follow the steps again. Although it sounds very complicated at the moment, but the fact is these errors are not very frequent, and once you get familiar with the VHDL language and its processes, These errors will not bother you, but definitely that will come with the practices. The final step is place and route. This step is for FPGA configuration, so we will cover it later in the FPGA configuration session. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe for regular updates.